Okay, so reminder, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be factoring this rational function. Sorry, we're not going to be factoring, we're going to be graphing this rational function. So step one, and again, we did this yesterday, but just a reminder, we're going to go and find the vertical asymptote. And the way we find the vertical asymptote is we take the denominator, set it equal to 0, and then solve this equation. So in this case, this is a difference of squares. So I'm going to factor it and then set each factor equal to 0 and solve. And what I end up getting is I get two vertical asymptotes. One at positive 3, one at negative 3. Next, so step 2, we're going to go and find the x-intercept. And the way we find the x-intercept is we take the numerator and we set it equal to 0 and solve. So in this case, I just get 1, and there's one x-intercept at 0. Next, we're going to find the horizontal asymptote. So remember, there's 3 situations. In order to find the horizontal asymptote, we're comparing the degree of the numerator to the degree of the denominator. So in your notes, there's 3 different ways of doing that. In this case, we see that the degree of the top is 2, and the degree of the bottom is 2. So their degrees are the same. So what we do is we take the leading coefficient, so the number in front of the x squareds, and we divide them. We find that ratio. And so in this case, we get the horizontal asymptote is that line y equals 2. Okay? So next, I'm just going to kind of put together all the algebra stuff that I have so far. And I'm going to actually make a guess. When I'm done, I'm going to make a quick guess on my graph. It's not going to be super accurate, but you'll be surprised of how good it is. So let's see what we got here. So first thing I have is, let's see if I can do this in a different color. Let's put on our vertical asymptotes. So I've got a vertical asymptote at positive 3 and negative 3. So I've got a vertical asymptote here and here. I also have a horizontal asymptote at, I know I'm going a little out of order, but I have a horizontal asymptote at the line y equals 2. So right there. And then finally, I haven't taken care of it yet, I have this x-intercept at 0. So I have this point right here. Now it may look like I don't have a lot of information yet, but actually, I think I have a ton. I can, without making a table right now, I can almost graph this function. Okay? And let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to make some guesses based on what I know. So let's see what the things that I know. The first thing that I know is that I'm going to look at my left branch. So I'm going to be looking over in this section right there. And let me erase that so that's not confusing. So for you guys, I'm going to be looking over here, what's going on this left-hand side. Well, I've got a vertical asymptote that I'm not allowed to touch, but I have to hug. And there's only 2 ways I can hug it. It's either going to hug down or it's going to hug up. But it's also got to, as it goes out farther and further, it's got to hug this horizontal asymptote. Not only that, it never touches the x-axis in this area because there's only one place it touches the x-axis, and that's right here. So there's only one possible thing that this thing could be doing. And I don't know the shape exactly or the points exactly, but it's going to have to do something like that. And again, the reason is it's got to hug the vertical asymptote, it's got to hug the horizontal asymptote, can't cross the x-intercept. Okay? I'm going to deal with the right-hand branch at the same time because it's going to be very, very similar in terms of logic. So I'm going to deal with the right-hand branch. So again, there's a vertical asymptote here, there's a horizontal asymptote here. And there's no x-intercept. So the only thing this thing can possibly be doing is this. Now time to deal with the middle. Something's going on in the middle and I need to figure out what it is. There's actually a few different options. First thing, it's got to hug the vertical asymptotes. That rule still always applies. It's got to hug the vertical asymptotes. It can, remember the horizontal asymptotes and end behavior. So basically in the middle, it's like this horizontal line here doesn't even exist. It can cross it and do all sorts of things. Again, the horizontal asymptotes and end behavior doesn't tell you what's going on by the origin. So I actually have 3 different things I can do, and I literally don't know which of the 3 it could be. One is it could hug here, touch, and hug there. That's one thing it can do. Another thing it could do is it could go kind of the opposite. So it could hug here, touch. I guess there's actually 4 things it could do. And it could touch there. Third thing it could do is, I'll do this in green, is it can hug here, touch, and come back down. And of course, it could do the same thing from top. It could hug, touch, and come down. So in other words, those are the 4 things it can do. I literally, all 4 of them are the same value. I literally don't know which those are. So at this point, it's basically time to go and make a table. So I'm going to go and make a table, and I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to use the book's number so that I'm not sitting there generating them for you. So let me just get rid of some of this stuff, though. But I think you guys would agree. I have a decent, well, that works terribly. Okay. So let's see what we got. Not like my other program. I like the other one better. Let's see what we got. So let's go and make our table. I'll put this back together in a minute. So for the table, we're just going to, now I want to remind you, when we go to plug in numbers, I plug everything into the original function. So my numbers are going to be for the original function. There are no shifts. So I'm going to plug in, and this is just taken from the book, I'm going to plug in actually, before I do that, quick reminder. I've got to choose numbers to the left and to the right of the vertical asymptote. So I've got to choose numbers to the left of -3 and to the right of -3, to the left of 3 and to the right of 3. Okay, I've got to make sure that I choose numbers in each of the 3 regions that we saw in the original graph that I had made. Okay, left and right of each vertical asymptote. So -5 and -4 are to the left of -3. -2, 0, and 2 are between -3 and 3. And then finally 4 and 5 are to the right of 3. So notice each of the regions is accounted for. Okay, so let's put this together. And I'll give you guys just kind of a second to get that down. But let's put this together. And I'm just kind of... So this is kind of a little bit of a mess, my apologies. So I'm going to go back and put my vertical asymptotes. So I had one at 3. You know what they will look like. So I'm just going to quickly put back the information that I had started with. So vertical asymptotes and horizontal asymptotes and the x-intercepts. So let's see what we got here. So I had the vertical asymptote at 3 and -3, and the horizontal asymptote at 2, and we had that x-intercept at 0. So looking at my left-hand side, so I'm going to look at these two numbers. I have negative 5 and negative, I think that's 3.1. So about here. And then negative 4 and 4.6, so that's about here. So it is doing what I had originally said. Going to deal with the right-hand side too, so the third branch. And you'll notice it does exactly the same thing. So it's doing this. Now the only thing, like I said, I didn't know was what was going on in the middle. So let's see. At negative 2, it is at negative 1.6, so it's about here. We already know 0, 0. We'd already found that point. And 2, negative 1.6. So the graph looks like this. So I think that was my third guess for the middle part. Okay?